These Emerson polls, they're producing very different results. I don't know why. Ah, it's IVR and landline only. Well then, the last Canadian election had a company doing polling with a similar method and with the same argument that it reduces bias, which is just a guess really, not a good one. There's no evidence that an IVR will reduce bias. It's something somebody made up. They consistently had the Conservatives 5 or 6 points higher than anybody else, and they ended the election with the worst results. I don't think that IVR reduces human bias, quote unquote. Rather, I think what it does is it reduces the sample space and creates a distorted outcome. Because people just hang up the phone when they hear a recording, right? The results are just widely deviant, and I'd be very careful with them. The best polls are with human interviewers. This is very well understood. Something I might be interested, though, in looking at the Emerson is to see how they're reporting the results. I haven't done this, but I would suspect that they're probably getting higher undecided levels, and so what they're doing is they're cutting the sample space down, and it's distorting the outcomes, right? That's what I found with the other IVR polling firms, is that the IVR polling firms would have higher levels of undecideds because they didn't have the human interviewer breaking them down, right? And because they had the Canadian election was something different, right? Because all the undecideds were on the left, right? And so by increasing the number of undecideds, you ended up exaggerating the levels of conservative support. I might suspect that you are getting a similar effect here. But I mean, it has to do. I mean, they're not calling cell phones. They're calling no cell phones. They're only using IVRs. So I mean, I think you need to take that for what it is. It's gonna fuck up all the all the aggregates, and I went over this before, but how bad polling modifying the aggregates is a compounded problem, right? You get more bad polls built on top of bad polls, and then the good polls get distorted as the bad polls increase in effect, right? But I mean, this particular firm, if they were close, but they're not. Like they're off by 10 points. Like they had Trump ahead in Colorado. Like nobody's had Trump ahead in Colorado the whole session. But I mean, if you're using IVR and you're only calling landlines, that almost makes sense, right? When I can predict the bias by looking at your methodology sucks. Sorry. So yeah, just I mean, if we start seeing other polls, replicate it, great. But for right now, I would just, I mean, it would be by luck, basically, right? I would just be careful with those polls and just not really pay too much attention to them.